personal favorite is Hungary at the moment, because there are lots of the international press is very bad about Hungary, but in fact it's much better when you look at it in detail. They have a very difficult prime minister. The press is really negative, but when you look at what he does, it's not, for example, the international press said he gets rid of all the judges that he doesn't like, but in fact he just introduced a retirement age of 65 for the judges. That's what he did. Yeah, but the press said he got rid of all the judges he didn't like. That's always the same. Yeah? When you really look at it in detail, it's not as dramatic as you think. And the office market, extremely high vacancy, but who on earth will get financed to build an office in Budapest over the next 2 years? You can assume the vacancy will go down. There's a lot of inward new investment because the foreign is so low, the wages are low. There are lots of positive arguments for Hungary at the moment, but it's in...
Not in retail.
Not in retail, no. Office, when you, for example, look at Zagreb, there's so much retail, but offices looks much better. So you have to look at every city, at every segment. Therefore, it's very difficult to answer this question in general, but the same is probably true for Serbia, where no one has ever looked at, and there are lots of opportunities, and Romania, Bulgaria, so there are lots of good things there that one could acquire. So,
yeah, but once again, then we're coming down to the point we discussed before. I mean, it's almost impossible to get a development financing in Warsaw in the Czech Republic. Yeah, so how difficult, if not impossible, will it be to get in Zagreb, in Serbia? Yeah, because I mean, I think no one will be active there anymore, not even the Austrian banks, which have played a significant role in the past, but I think at the moment they're also more or less not out of business, but definitely reducing their exposure in these countries.
I didn't talk about development, just which are interesting
existing
investment opportunities.
But even for investment opportunities, it will be difficult to find financing in Serbia, Croatia, Bulgaria.
Therefore, the yields are much higher. And
so isn't that an opportunity then to acquire prime properties in those weaker markets?
Yeah, but once again, I mean, as long as you have the very good opportunities in the established markets, yeah, why should you look into these markets? I mean, it very much depends on the risk profile of the bank, of the strategy, yeah, and once again, it depends very much on the funding, because if you finance a property in Croatia, in Serbia, Bulgaria, these markets are not, or the loans for these countries or in these countries are not eligible for covered bond. So it very much comes back to the situation of the individual bank's funding situation. Yeah, and then you have a clearly reduced number of banks, and then the question is, are these banks really willing to inject their funds into these markets, yeah, with probably higher returns, but also with higher risks. And when you look especially at the Austrian banks, they're at the moment all trying to restructure and clear their own portfolios they have in these countries.
They say on July 1st they start lending again. I hope it's true.
I hope it's not true. Yeah, but I think at the moment you can clearly concentrate in Czech Republic probably on 1-2 cities, and in Warsaw on the bigger cities, on retail, on office, logistics anyway here. I think it does make sense for the investors, definitely, yeah, on the long term. If you're just looking on short term, you can only concentrate on the capitals, because this is the only market where you have a more or less guaranteed access later on.
Like everybody, I will say, if I can develop in Warsaw, I will develop, but between what I can do and between the dream, and a huge gap. No, for sure that in Warsaw I can tell you where is the best place to develop what and so on. The idea for Warsaw and the big city, I have many, but when I have really to develop and to enter in the real business, real life, it's another story, because, for example, I am the owner with one big and nice plot in Warsaw since 12 years. And when you have the new election and so on, we restart for the new story of the land and the new imagination of the authorities. But at the end, I hope that something will happen. But also, to be clear that in Warsaw, on the big cities, even in the city with the really potential, there are a huge gap between the vision and how you can start. Because in front of you, you have the people authorities and the tenants and so on, that they are not on the same level, and they had not the same expectation. And the talks with the city is more and more difficult because every 4 or 5 years you have the new team in front of you with the new expectation, and you restart again the story, the dream, and so on and so on.
Maybe just Moscow, we haven't talked about Russia, but Moscow is interesting. There's political stability, as we all know.
For the moment.
But it looks stable for the moment. But there's a new mayor as well in Moscow, and it's really almost impossible to develop new retail or new offices. There are not many good offices in central Moscow. The rents are increasing, the vacancy is decreasing. So the retail and the good shopping centers in Moscow, they're booming. The economy, oil price is high, will be high probably for many, many years. So there's lots of arguments why one should consider Russia. From a market point of view, political analysis needs to be done by someone else. Political risk analysis.
Will Halaba finance in Russia?
No.
But there are banks who finance in Russia.
Let's say this way, not on a term I could think of.
Okay.
Maybe in 10 years' time might be different, but at the moment, no.